Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I want to talk about something that's been on my mind a lot: the hate, backlash, and general fatigue around comic book movies. You might have seen all the negativity online, the claims that superhero movies are ruined, over, or killing cinema. And honestly, as a longtime movie fan, that just doesn't sit right with me. So I want to share my perspective, why I think this backlash mostly misses the point, why the studios themselves made some mistakes, and why comic book movies, especially Marvel, will be here for a long time. I'll also share a bit about my own journey with films, from the first movie that blew me away to the directors I admire, and how that shapes the way I see all this. Let's get into it. My very first theater experience was with Jurassic Park. I still remember that thunderous roar of the T-Rex and the wonder I felt watching these creatures come to life on the big screen. It was the kind of magic that made movies feel like an escape, like anything could happen. That moment hooked me on movies forever. Here's the thing: blockbuster movies like Jurassic Park did exactly what great films should do. They created an experience that brought people together and made us dream. So when critics say comic book movies aren't real cinema or call them shallow spectacle, I think back to that moment and have to push back. Blockbusters are the gateway for many people into the world of film, and comic book movies are no different. Now, if you ask me about my favorite movie, without a doubt, it's The Matrix. That film combined mind-bending action with philosophy and style. It screamed superhero story in my mind. A fight against control, a journey to awaken power and choice. It made me realize that you can have blockbuster movies packed with entertainment, yet layered with meaning. I'm also a huge fan of Christopher Nolan and Steven Spielberg. Nolan's talent for blending intellectual storytelling with blockbuster thrills is unmatched. Movies like Inception, Interstellar, and the Dark Knight trilogy hit that perfect balance. Spielberg, well, he's a legend. From the wonder of E.T. to the thrilling adventure of Jurassic Park, his movies show the heart and soul that cinema can bring. The point I want to make here is that loving any one style of movie or director doesn't mean rejecting others. You can be a fan of Nolan's complex narratives and still cheer for the latest Spider-Man movie. These different worlds coexist, and that's what makes cinema amazing. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room. Studios definitely contributed to the backlash themselves. Marvel and DC had a product that was golden. Blockbuster after blockbuster, box office records after records. But what happened? They tried to do too much too fast. Instead of crafting fewer, high-quality films, we got a never-ending stream of movies and spin-offs, sometimes rushed and lacking the heart that made the originals special. Comic book movies started feeling like a chore to keep up with, rather than an event to get excited about. That's not a knock on the genre, it's a critique of how the studios managed the franchises, and that's why the backlash hit so hard after the pandemic. Audience habits shifted, people could watch at home, and suddenly the must-see once-a-year superhero movie felt like, well, homework. The inevitable disappointment that followed fueled a lot of negativity. When we talk about the Marvel Cinematic Universe, there was a golden era that truly defined what superhero movies could be. Films like Captain America, Civil War, Thor, Ragnarok, Infinity War, and the monumental Endgame were more than just blockbusters. They were cinematic events. These movies struck a remarkable balance. Civil War deepened character conflicts in a way that felt personal. Thor. Ragnarok brought humor and freshness that revitalized a franchise. Infinity War and Endgame achieved what few others could, an epic conclusion that paid off over a decade of storytelling. Millions of fans bonded over these films, and rightfully so. The level of craft, scale, and emotion was truly groundbreaking, and moments where character development took a backseat to spectacle. The enormity of the universe meant some heroes got less time to shine, which occasionally left fans feeling parts of the story were rushed or incomplete. Fast forward to today, and those issues have become more frequent. Post-Endgame, Marvel has struggled with consistency. The expanding slate of movies and shows sometimes feels like too much, too fast, which impacts quality. Some titles seem designed more to fill out a schedule than to tell meaningful stories, and this has frustrated fans who crave originality and depth. This brings us back to Kevin Feige. His vision and courage to build a shared universe revolutionized cinema, no doubt. But the very formula he perfected can also become a cage. Marvel's need for careful continuity and interconnected plots means risk-taking is limited, and not every film or series gets the time or creative freedom it deserves. In fact, some argue this machine-like approach pushes out smaller, more creative projects that might have shaken up the genre. So, yes, while there's a lot to celebrate in Marvel's golden years and Feige's leadership, the studio is now at a crossroads. The challenge is how to evolve beyond the formula that made them successful, to embrace fresh voices and narratives without losing what made Marvel great. But even as Marvel thrived, a new challenge emerged: online hate farming. If you're on YouTube, TikTok, or Twitter, you'll notice tons of creators making money off of outrage, raging about superhero movies, bashing the MCU or DC in clickbait videos, and sometimes exaggerating problems to drive views. This negativity spreads fast and loud, but it doesn't always reflect the full picture. Yes, not every Marvel movie hits a home run, but the hate often drowns out the positive. It turns complex conversations into clickbait spectacles. So when you see people saying comic book movies are dead or washed up, remember there's a whole industry built around amplifying outrage, even when fans still love these stories. Here's my take. The comic book boom isn't going anywhere. These characters are deeply woven into our culture. Sure, the genre will evolve, studios will experiment and sometimes stumble. Some franchises may fall out of favor, but this isn't the end of the road. For me, movies are about joy, storytelling, and shared experiences. Whether it's dinosaurs in Jurassic Park, hackers in The Matrix, Nolan's complex worlds, Spielberg's heart, or an epic superhero showdown. Don't let the noise tell you comic book movies are a lost cause. The good ones will always find their audience, and I'll be there first in line. That's my story, my defense of comic book movies, and why I believe the genre still has a bright future. What's your favorite movie or director that shaped how you see cinema? Share your story in the comments. I'd love to hear it. And if you want more honest takes on films, hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you at the movies.